Welcome into the Fantasy Sanctuary. I am your humble host, Tyler, aka Emo Cowboy, going solo tonight for a big board draft on Underdog Fantasy. We're going to be chasing $250,000 up top to first place with over $2 million worth of prizes in the contest. Let's get right into it. What is up, folks? Welcome into the Fantasy Sanctuary. We are just jumping into a big board draft, the way too early tournament offered here on Underdog Fantasy. We've got the rookies, we've got the veterans, we've got breaking news right before the stream started that Cooper Kupp and the Los Angeles Rams have agreed to seek a trade. Well, you say agreed, it's about as mutual as a we're just friends now breakup, where the Rams are saying, look, you're old, you're a little washed, we're moving on. It's better for everybody involved. And Cooper Kupp is having to go like, all right, I don't care. I'll play somewhere else. So, right off the bat, Jordan Rodriguez kind of saying that, Cooper Kupp is adamant that he's going to keep playing. And it seems like the sentiment from his tweet tonight, kind of saying a goodbye to Los Angeles, is saying just as much. So, Commanders, Patriots, Titans, teams with cap space and a big ass need for wide receiver. Can't wait to see where he goes. But anyway, hello and welcome to everybody joining us. Gotta love it. Welcome in Balls Life, Bendels as always. Well, stay tuned. I'll talk about that later. And then Chris, aka Fantasy Football Garage, what is going on? Yeah, I was taking some Jordan Whittapuka, as we were calling him in the late round quarterback, folks. Chats. I mean, they utilized him well. He seemed to operate just fine. It just seems like anyone in that like slot-esque role is going to just get, spoon-fed targets. He had several games with really high target share, including in the preseason, and then a couple last season operating that. McVay saying they wanted to operate a more like versatile offense with the run game and the pass. Well, that becomes a lot easier when you have guys like Whittington. I'm gonna keep almost calling him Whittapuka. It's gonna happen, folks. Just let it happen. But yeah, I mean, Whittington was praised by McVay for having like some really strong run blocking abilities. So really excited to see how he can grow into this role. You got to think they bring at least one of Marcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell back. Both guys are free agents, but maybe they don't. I know we do know that they were rumored to be going up for Brian Thomas Jr. or another wide receiver in the draft last year in the first round. So, I think Puka is a solid bet as a veteran presence guy, but I definitely wouldn't put them, the Rams, that is, out of, the running for a free agent or a draft guy by any means. So excited to see how this goes. And then, yeah, as Bennels is pointing out, the Titans are the final destination for everyone's cast-off dusty wide receivers, Eric Decker, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, sometimes before Julio Jones, lest we forget the great Julio Jones. All right, so we're coming up here in the big board, chasing $2 million in total prizes, $250K to first, pick 11. I'm getting so many late picks in some of these early contests. It really is a bummer. You hate to see it. We'll happily take Brian Thomas Jr. in the Liam Cohen role. Not mad about that at all. Yeah, Egbuka, I'm sure they could find. I mean, they've shown themselves to be pretty savvy about finding wide receiver talent. Now comes a question of, do I want to double tap receiver and learn nothing from last year, or do I want to take some couple early running backs? I like some of the running back spots. We're going to double tap receiver here. Drake London got some awesome usage with, Michael Penix in at quarterback. We expect the floor of quarterback to be a lot better than it was under Kirk Cousins, hobbled with the whole offense having to operate suboptimally. And I believe it was Fantasy Points. Shout out to Fantasy Points for sharing that the usage in the red zone for London was amazing. So more high quality red zone targets, touchdowns matter on Underdog. Very happy to buy in on a wide receiver one with a young offense who, Penix looks like he can operate the offense just fine. And kind of a soft division. So worst case scenario, the Week 17 matchup is once again fantastic. One of those things I was gunning for. It wasn't as nice as it could have been, but then Carolina was a joke. Speaking of fantasy points, make sure I'm sharing the board. Okay. I did want to share this, found it interesting. So Fantasy Points Data Twitter account tweeted out the RB volume and expected fantasy points per game to some of the early best ball ADP here on Underdog. So just wanted to share this interesting chart. Wanted to make a few just few notices of the guys with stupid high volume are going to be mostly expensive. Chase Brown stands out as a guy that you either believe he's kind of earned the role and the Bengals have to spend money elsewhere on Chase at minimum, potentially Higgins, potentially other folks as they probably O-line as they go after free agents and try to build out the defense and the offensive line. Gesicki's a free agent, they can re-sign him. So Chase Brown might be one of the more fragile backs. I don't think he's any more fragile than like a Breece Hall guy. Breece Hall is, because that a guy like that with a new coach coming in, you don't know how they're going to allocate things. Hall's not been the healthiest. New coach may not care. New GM, so it's new staff. I'm not sold on Breece Hall at cost, but his role was pretty strong. Then you've got the efficiency overachievers like Henry and Bucky Irving, who overvalued by cost, but I mean the efficiency there, the touchdown upside is there. A couple guys I do like at their ADPs: Kyron Williams, Joe Mixon, and Chuba Hubbard. I don't see the Panthers adding an expensive volume taking away back. They just paid Hubbard that extension, and Brooks is a dog to play in 2025. So I don't know. So I'm liking Hubbard, especially as he falls to the 5th round. That's where I really like him. Kenneth Walker stands out. The coaching staff loves him. They talked a lot about him glowingly in the summer, in training camp, and then at the end of the season. He was just really banged up with core and lower body stuff. So buying in on Ken Walker, the 4-5 turn, plenty. Kamara's an interesting one because he might be undervalued again, but there is a new coaching staff in place. The GM is a holdover. The team needs everything. So like the one thing with Kamara is that this time around, the coaching staff is not just, putting Kendre Miller in the doghouse eternally. Kendre Miller, not a workhorse in all phases of, the offense as far as pass blocking and pass catching was concerned with the previous coaching staff. But you got to imagine that Kamara's volume might be a little fragile considering there is a new staff in town. But I think it's fine to take stabs on him in this contest where we're kind of going after some volume and stuff. We'll come back to this. Let's go back to the board. We're about to come up on the turn. But yeah, he is Kamara our generation's Tyler Lockett, perennially undervalued and always giving us the goods until he falls off a cliff and gives us nothing. Cliff diving, baby. Well, it's kind of tough to not take the falling Lamar. The quarterbacks are falling in this draft, though, with Josh Allen kind of falling to 31st. So I think this is where it's going to be. I think I'm going to take a receiver and see if Lamar comes back around to me. Evans' role is really strong. If Chris Godwin leaves in free agency, Tampa Bay and Bowles talked about wanting Godwin back. Whether or not they all decide to make it happen is another story. I will be glad to take Lamar as our elite quarterback here. So our start at the 11 hole on Underdog in the big board, chasing $250K, 2 first, $2 million total prizes. Lamar Jackson, a quarterback, and we are straight pissing gold. Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, Mike Evans at wide receiver. Really like this build so far. So a couple things up top I did want to address, and then I'll jump back to the chart because I think it's fun to talk through. In the big board, and I think one of the most valuable things you can do, and shout out to like Chris Spags over at Splash Play, big proponent of this, very solid year-over-year results in the big board in these early contests. It's just like stacking good teams or undervalued players, and then chasing chasing projectable volume this early when there's so much chaos to be given. So pretty much just knowing who are the bad contracts, who's likely to be traded. Your guys like Cooper Kupp, your guys like your potential cap casualties that might be without a team, who are overpriced at ADP, and then guys who are just likely to take a next step or are being undervalued because they sucked. Or Christian Kirk, great example of a guy who hurt again in the season with a just dog shit offensive environment, being undervalued compared to like what his role is and who he is and the team coming in. And so I think one of the easiest things you can do in these tournaments is not take on too much risk early, considering that it is 3 of 12 advancing in the first round, and then 1 of 10 before like a 400 and something person final. I believe last year was 500 and something. So one of the things you just want to do is stack mini stacks, quarterback stacks, stacking good teams, stacking good players, potentially undervalued offenses and undervalued players. Adam Thielen's been that guy 2 seasons in a row, honestly. Kamara's been that guy, and I think some of the rookies tend to be really frothy coming off a playoff stretch where we had just a bunch of dudes crushing, like Lad McConkey and Brian Thomas down the stretch, and we want rookies on our team, but we have no idea who the rookies are going to be projected to go in the first round, who are likely to have awesome setups given that they have strong athletic testing numbers, at the combine. We don't have a lot of information. We don't have rumors of like what teams are looking for and, where the strengths of the class really are. We've got film takes and some scout takes, and, they have value. Things like the Senior Bowl happening, there's value there. But you've also got like Senior Bowl warriors like Roman Wilson, who total dust even before the injury, because they ended up on an Arthur Smith led offense with low passing volume and a strong inclination to veterans. So, there's value in these early drafts of going for projectable volume, for projectable upside, and avoiding some really frothy rookie like wide receiver and running back ranks. I think some later guys stand out as really strong values, and hammering those guys can be really, really strong. Sus, what's up? Saying loving this 3-4 turn value on elite quarterback after the second round opening price. Yeah. And that we kind of saw a similar thing happen last year in early drafts. The Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar prices, even Jalen Hurts. I think all three of Mahomes, Hurts, and Allen were going in the early to mid second round. It took a lot longer for those guys to fall than it did this year. I mean, maybe a matter of days for those quarterback prices to fall. Here, I'm very happy. I don't think it's deviating builds too bad, considering the wide receiver tier continues to feel kind of flat for like 4 or 5 rounds, really and truly. And then the mid-tier guys that I really, really like are the prices are fine, but they're not as cheap as I liked, loading up on in previous years. You've kind of got like rounds 9, 10, and 11 being really ripe for the picking. And but a couple of those guys feel a little expensive. You would have liked them a little bit cheaper. Like Jared Goff getting more expensive after Brian Johnson leaves is funny. That's a really funny development to talk about. All right, so we take our anchor running back here in Ken Walker III at the 5'11". Talked about him, being really solid value for volume, but also talent. And that's the thing. You want intersection of volume and talent in fantasy in general, but especially if you can find that here in the big board early. And then I don't think Charbonnet plus Walker's price doesn't feel like you can't handcuff this early for the backfield, knowing that whichever back is getting all the volume is going to get it. I can double tap running backs here. I wanted to talk about James Conner. I don't love Luther Burden's fine. It took plenty of him early on. Egbuka, same thing. But I think we started 3 receivers and a quarterback. I like getting 2 guys. And let's go back to this good segue. We took Walker and we took Conner at our 5-6 turn. So Conner stands out, slightly above value once again. I was heavy on Conner the last couple of years, given his role in the coach speak. He gets that extension. Coach speak is strong, and they just kind of sit him because the team really didn't have anything to play for, and he was kind of banged up. They gave Trey Benson a little bit of work, but it was never more work than Connor was seeing at, normal. Connor sees about 60 to 75% of the work, and it's the high critical down stuff, red zone stuff, passing down stuff. So, and he looked really solid doing it. In fact, I think it was his best efficiency year to date. So, age is just a number until you fall off. The passing backs, and I think a lot of dudes like Edwin Porras and maybe Jeff Mueller have both done, data looking at and then I think Rotoviz as well showed that the age curve for running backs is not the same. Pass catching backs have a longer life expectancy and a longer prime, given that they can, catch the ball and even if they have some efficiency dips. Kamara is a great example of that. They can overcome that with just volume, especially in volume in the passing game being stronger than anything. But if those guys also have red zone work, you just get banged into the wall, score touchdowns. Mostert, Jamal Williams, both great examples of guys who really got there because they were used in critical downs. So Connor's still getting the high value touches in this offense. The offense was not as good as I was hoping last year. Obviously had some ceiling concerns. Kyler wasn't as good passing deep. Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't as as advertised as far as winning deep and winning all the routes. Also, wasn't really utilized in the middle of the field a whole lot, probably because Kyler's a shorter quarterback. We've seen this with Russell Wilson. So it's just harder for this offense to operate well. But Connor and McBride crushed and continue to be the engines of the offense. So I'm happy to invest in both of those guys. Again, even with Connor, Connor's like a nice arbitrage Derrick Henry. Similar type of age concern. Obviously not as good of an offensive ceiling, but the role, Connor could get more touches and more work every single game, but still see that kind of heavy stuff. And so, yeah, that's a great example. It's like the Jaguars still are not priced too high outside of Brian Thomas Jr. because they've been hyped every single year and they have not truly delivered for whatever reason. Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence being streaky, the offensive line being an issue. But with Cohen there, you got to feel good about what he was able to do with an offense like the Bucks that were kind of discounted for what they're doing and at least operating efficiently, not being tied to the same old. It seemed like Doug Peterson also kind of hung on too long to some things like Press Taylor and some things that just weren't working with the way that, and Trent Baalke. I mean, what are you going to do when this guy keeps signing and drafting every linebacker known to mankind instead of beefing up the offensive defensive lines and adding, young playmakers on the offense. So Cardinals feel like a great example, even at, just at current value. They don't need to hit their ADP in best ball to still give us really good weeks. And then potentially, the cheaper they are, the easier it is for them to, outproduce their value. One thing as well is the rookies, they started off really frothy, but they have started falling. So I've been trying to game some of these guys that are falling. But the Cardinals and the Jags, again, I expected them to be a lot more expensive than they are. So I'm going to load up on those guys. Gabe Davis, probably the only guy not being cut from this offense. We are happy to take Mika, and I'm going to start calling him a Gluckba because I want to Gluck that up so far. And we'll see. We'll see how things shake out. Another guy that stood out is Tony Pollard. Was given an awesome contract and was given awesome usage. Banged up down the stretch on a dog shit offense. He and Spears both stand out as solid picks at ADP, and Pollard's probably the better ADP, all things considered. Really wanted Juwan Jennings there. What's up, RM covers? What's wild? The chart? Or a Gluckba, want to Gluck it up? Yeah. And brother, you know how it goes. If you're not new around here, you know how I go. All right, so we could take our third running back in Pollard. We could take a tight end, or we could take another receiver. I think we're gonna lean receiver, and here's where it's tough. I like Rashid Shaheed. He was breaking out. Ricky Pearsall is a year 2 guy connected to a really good offense. It's underpriced. I have a lot of both guys. I'm gonna go Shaheed here. Best ball, he was having some wildly efficient spikes. I know Clint Kubiak is no longer with the team. That said, Olave is a question mark, but seemingly fine coming into next year. the offense can't be worse, right? And famous last words of us saying that about guys like the Patriots every year. But I think for this build, it's important to fill out our roster with guys who can have meaningful spikes and do it over the course of a season. And Shaheed was that guy, even in a bad offense, up until he got injured for the season. So I'm loading up on him. I think very reasonable ADP, kind of going around where he ended up. He ended up by the end of the draft season. So I think it's very reasonable considering that he's had plenty. But from all accounts, from what I can tell, he should be back to pretty much normal. Just because his injury did happen like week 4, 5, or 6, so like pretty higher early on in the season. But Ricky Pearsall, another thing, like the 49ers, outside of CMC and even Kittle in the 3rd round, I don't think is egregiously priced. The 49ers just had like one of the worst injury seasons ever. Still managed to have multiple guys meaningfully contribute at running back, tight end, and wide receiver. And now you're getting Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, who both earned like a shitload of volume in the last few weeks of their fantasy season trying to play. This is a division that's going to be up for grabs. So I'm loading up on 49ers. Brock Purdy's price is again pretty much the same as last year, similar to Shaheed. So I give it to me. Like I have no problems with that. I think they're going to be far healthier. They are likely to do what they need to do, even with Brock Purdy's contract, to massage the cap and do what they got to do. And at the end of the day, the defense likely is the one to take a hit. Brandon Ayuk coming off of the double ligament MCL LCL injury, I'm fading at least early on, and I don't want to load up on injury guys, especially at his price in like the 6th, 7th round. Debo, according to Lynch, they're expecting him back with the team. So, but he's like the 29-year-old, kind of on the decline, easy out as far as like I think it's like a 28 million cap hit. So if Lynch does want to keep him around, he's got to restructure. And does Debo restructure? I don't know. What's up, historical anomalies? Have the Texans hired an OC? I still think it's unofficial with that Kaylee guy. I don't remember if it's official yet. But it seems like they're hiring ex-Patriots and ex-Rams passing game and offensive coordinator guy. So I guess speculation-wise, we should expect to see more 11 personnel and maybe more shotgun. Someone refresh my memory if Mixon is better or worse in shotgun. Those are my early thoughts. Thoughts on Bateman? I think his value is really solid. As a Bateman fader, he shoved it down my throat. Turns out when you almost can't play the whole season because you're so injured with your Liz Frank and your hamstring, you turn out a dog shit fantasy season. So he has his first fully healthy training camp, and boom, just pops off. So we talked about simplifying things. Attached to Lamar, healthy, with a decent deep and red zone role as wide receiver 2. That's fine. If anything happens to Andrews or Flowers, more volume can go Bateman's way. If anything happens to Henry, they will likely have to adjust less run heavy, especially in the red zone. That's good for Bateman. So I'm loading up on him as he's probably going to be my Shaheed of this year, where I want like 15 to 20% halfway through my volume because of the price, because of the role. And then we'll adjust from there. What's up, Al Boogie? I've seen you in Sony in my drafts lately. I wish someone would have massaged his cap with both fists, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, that's what yeah. I think I was like, I thought I saw the account tweeted out, but I muted the Texans PR account a while ago with some of the Watson bullshit and some of the other stuff was bad. But yeah, so Nick Caley officially hired. Patriots AFC South is back. Casario cannot help himself. I believe it was an ACL. I believe it was an ACL. was a meniscus injury, so maybe not as bad. I believe because it was meniscus, it's not as bad as ACL, and even an ACL has like about a 9-month average return, and shouldn't really, you know, hamper production given enough time. And that was October 17th. So let's do the quick maths. We're on the clock. Yeah, so I mean, he should be back training and basically fully healthy around late June, early July. We could get the running back quarterback pairing of Kyler. I think I want to push. We talked about it. I'm going to take Bateman here. I don't feel the need to get aggressive at quarterback, given I have Lamar covered and I have Lawrence later. In fact, yeah, I'm going to push Kyler for Trevor Lawrence. So I think now is a really good time for a running back. Najee stands out, kind of like a shittier version of Derrick Henry last year, where the veteran running back on the free agent market is being undervalued. And I'll just take what, again, likely projected role. He's probably going to get a pretty decent contract. He probably ends up being the DeAndre Swift of this year, where is he that good? No. Is his role fairly strong because the team gave him a lot of money? Yeah. And can he deliver on a 10th round 100 was his ADP 113 ADP? Yeah, probably. I'd rather take that shot over handcuffing, my 5th round pick, my 6th round pick, and Kenneth Walker. Brian Robinson was fine, but not really good. Jane Daniels, and they passed a lot more in that offense in the red zone than I thought they would. No reason to change that. And guys like Tajay stand out nicely, but every once in a while he comes back around. So, probably just going to target that. Go for the stacks. So in the 10th round, we stand at a 1-3-6-0 build. Lamar, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, Najee Harris, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, Rashid Shaheed, and Rashad Bateman. Where did Mark Andrews went early in this one? That's interesting. Willie Schools has 3 elite tight ends. That's a decision. All but Sam Laporta, a little ahead of ADP. Let's see. 4th round Joe Burrow. I just can't do it, man. And that was kind of the same thing with last year. Like, he dropped by 2 rounds by the end of the draft, and that was when you should load up. But like 4th round with Hurts, Daniels, and Lamar, like, you're talking about dual threats. 4th round's insane. I understand going ahead of Patrick Mahomes, but even Patrick Mahomes' price seems aggressive considering how they kind of play football in the regular season. Big likes, big hair, folks. My OCD fixing it is very aggressive tonight, but part of that is because I was at the gym and walking my dogs and scarfing root noodle pork roast pho down my throat. Homemade, by the way. Right before stream. And that's the thing. So the mid-range quarterbacks feel a little bit pricey. Baker and the Bucks, I'll give Todd Bowles credit. He might game manage like a dumbass and a dinosaur, but he hires OCs the last couple like a savant. How's the new OC gonna work? I don't know. So why not take Liam Cohen's Jaguars and Brian Schottenheimer? This might be the first time you get like reasonably priced Cowboys because no one's into them. They're likely going to have a new running back. It's probably not going to be Dowdle, and if it is, it's a placeholder for a rookie or a Najee, most likely. Maybe J.K. Dobbins. I don't know. They probably want like a full role guy. Tolbert stands out as like a solid value as like a wide receiver 2 with healthy Dak in a motion heavy Brian Schottenheimer offense. He wants to use motion, so the pace will probably be down a little bit, but you still got to like the Dak's pricing is very nice. I'm very into. Where did he go on this one? Am I blind? still on the board, isn't he? Yes, my God. Yeah. So 127 ADP, which is about where Trevor Lawrence was going last year. For a guy who we've seen outside of injury, like top 5 to top 10 points per game, ceiling and floor. Very nice. Speaking of which, who took my Trevor Lawrence? That motherfucker. So the one hole took Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram double tap. All's fair in love and war. So you get for pushing quarterback. We push Tajay around. We get him a few picks past ADP to pair in our running back room. Feels good. We push quarterback because we are very fine with Michael Penix, who gave us a little bit more rushing upside than we thought, and we as me, considering he can just scoot for a touchdown despite being kind of a dog shit college rushing quarterback. So he's probably going to be like the CJ Stroud type where he doesn't really have a rushing floor, but every once in a while he will rip like a 12-yard run and maybe run a 5-yard red zone touchdown. And that's not bad. Michael Penis completes our London is Falling stack. 2-4-6-0 build Lamar, Michael Penis, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, Najee Harris, Tajay Spears, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Mike Evans, Amika Eglukba, Rashid Shaheed, and Rashad Bateman. Trying to go after stacks, trying to go after solid offenses, undervalued offenses, solid roles and role players with touchdown upside. Hopefully, Isaiah Likely is a guy that falls every now and then, so I'm going to try to push him for our tight end because I felt that the value of a quarterback-wide receiver pairing, especially wide receiver one, was more valuable at that point and not getting locked out. Because if I can end with 2 quarterbacks, I'm not going to be mad about it. Mace Football Garage asking any mid to late tight ends going after a rookie class appears deep. And this is where I'm terrified because the rookie class appears deep, but that doesn't mean it's like quality deep in fantasy starters. I agree that they look interesting. That doesn't mean they're all going to get roles because there are only so many roles for like a full-time tight end, right? Washington stands out at a place that if they move on from Zach Ertz, whoever gets that full-time role, because it's probably not Ben Sinnott, is a huge value. I don't know. I feel like there's only 2 tight ends you can feel good about. And those are the ones going in the first round. Because you take a first round tight end, you're going to give him value. Doesn't mean he's good, but he's going to get that like volume. Kansas City has a need if Kelsey retires. That said, a couple free agent tight ends are hitting the market in Juwan Johnson and Tyler Conklin, who are all serviceable, fine to good. So like in Cincinnati, if they don't re-sign Gesicki, but they kind of rotate guys anyway. They don't really have a full-time guy. So like maybe a rookie. Eric All was probably going to be that guy before he tears his ACL. He's probably not going to play. So do they invest in a guy that does that? I don't know. I expect the free agent tight ends to kind of take up most of the spots, and then the rookie tight ends really have to pop. Carolina stands out as a team that could upgrade with a rookie tight end. We saw that happen, with the Giants, where they took Bellinger and then they took Theo Johnson, who Ras King, 10 out of 10 Ras, and despite that, did nada, kind of a dog shit offense. Some interesting underlying metrics for sure, but I don't know. It's tough. With the tight ends here, like I said, Loveland getting first-round buzz. You feel comfortable with that. Freiermuth and Otten stand out. Otten, again, stands out, attached to a potential top 12 to top 10 offense and points. Likely goes to Sniptia, which is perfectly perfectly titled. As like running all the routes with a red zone role, and Otten had like an unreal stretch given his profile. Cole Kmet stands out as a guy who, given his contract with the team and Ben Johnson, no Shane Waldron to split his time. So unless Ben Johnson comes in and says, hey, I don't want Cole Kmet to be the tight end, I don't see any reason for him. He stands out as a massive value at 165.7 ADP, given we've seen this guy have a 3-touchdown ceiling. We've seen him have multiple weeks in a row of multi-touchdowns as like a red zone threat guy. If Keenan Allen leaves, they need another like big target in the red zone. He stands out as that guy. I believe Ben Johnson is going to be a huge upgrade on like efficiency of the offense, especially when it comes to scoring. And I don't know that they go out and like blow the budget on wide receivers. It's probably beefing up the O-line and running back. So those guys stand out. Higbee still has a year left on contract with the Rams. He's probably brought back, considering he looked pretty solid. And McVay wants to be versatile, and he emphasizes the tight end in that offense. So unless they decide to cut Higbee to save money and then re-sign a cheaper guy, Higbee could be really interesting. And then, like I said, Conklin, I think, should rise like 40 picks once he signs with the team. All right, speaking of which, we have to make a decision here. Do we take Kyle Shitz to pair with Michael Penis? And do we take Cedric Tillman? I think we double tap tight end here. That seems... All right, I see you. Okay, let's say hello to some folks. What's up, Hoop Hames? I've seen you in all my fucking drafts. Green Bean, what's good, brother? How you doing? Thad, good to see you as always. All the homies in the chat, hit that like. All right, Ty. Kyle Shitz or Pat Fryermuth? I have Michael Penix. I want to take Fryermuth. Convince me that Kyle Shitz is... I know you're not in this one, but you've been in all the other ones. God damn it. All right. All right, if Pitt sucks, I'm Venmoing you for $10 for this wasted, gorgeous team. All right, we stack up Michael Penix with Kyle Pitts. The most unfun click at 158. Yikes. You're selling me on a souped up Gesicki. That doesn't feel good. Wait a minute. Is he still... Let me see. Did I miss something with... Hold on. What did I miss? It's just rumors? What is this? Hold on, I'm catching up. Oh, I didn't know Pitts was a free agent. I missed that on his contract. Interesting. Yeah, they're not going to option him. That's what it was. I just assumed most dude, how many tight ends don't make it to their don't get 5th-year options? So many first-round tight ends, if I recall correctly. What a travesty. What a travesty. Yeah, they're not going to option him. What do the Falcons do? The Falcons don't get another rookie to replace him, do they? Do they swap Kyle Pitts for Tyler Warren, or do they sign like Conklin or Juwan? Jason, what's up, fam? Asking how many spots Jordan Long Schlong Whittington moved up with the Cup news. Not enough. I don't think he's gone in this one. Sharp folks like myself were taking him more. Maybe 10 spots. Maybe. Probably too many by the end of the week, considering that I doubt the Rams want to go into the season with just Puka and Jordan Whittapuka. By the way, Whittapuka, not Long Schlong. Let's see. They already optioned him? Have I just totally forgotten all of that? Oh my god, I forgot that. Yeah. Okay, hold on. I gotta refresh my memory. I do need to just do like a 4-hour stream where I spend the first hour just going through all the contracts to remind myself. To be fair, oh yeah, no guaranteed. No, it's all guaranteed. That's right. It's a fully guaranteed $10.8 million. It's not great, but like, what else are you gonna do? I mean, they could just cut him and eat the cap, right? Falcons aren't that hard up for cap, are they? We can check. Let's see. What are the Falcons working with here? I stand corrected. I think they are 11 million over the cap right now. Yikes. Tom Brady's also a minority owner. So he literally, I think that was like this last summer, right? They were like, he cannot play. Dude, I immediately saw that. I was like, nice photo. Nice photo, Coop. Them mom jeans working overtime for that Pixar Peach is what we'll call it. Pixar Peach. There you go. He didn't get optioned. He does have a $10 million guarantee. Is it just the last year of his contract? No, I think, yeah, no, I see. The only reason why he would have a guaranteed salary 5th year is because of the option, right? Yeah, I think he was optioned. I think PPR, I think Ty is right. I will never call another Tyler a liar. That is a promise. One of the rookie wide receivers that I do think is I want to be hammering right now at cost is Jalen Royals. Some really strong metrics. Shout out again to Chris over at Splash Play. Spags does a really awesome job looking at like the analytics. It's really one of his strong suits of like the running back and wide receiver analytics. Some of the guys he was high on, like Bucky Irving and wide receiver last year, was it? I think he was on worthy with me. And then Troy Franklin, just came in small and ended up with Peyton, who's a sizest, but even he had some solid spikes. I'm not remembering all the guys right now. I'm doing a disservice, but like the way he weeds out like the, hey, avoid Blake Corum at cost type of guys was really valuable. And he, early on, Royals looks like one of the guys who is both doing well at the Senior Bowl, but also has really awesome, strong underlying metric. And we get sniped by Fantasy Maestro, motherfucker. He looked good in like one game though, and then he dropped a touchdown in another, unless I'm misremembering how he ended the season. We take the stack, but I do it begrudgingly under protest. This looks like a spot where I take a receiver and a running back. No running backs are really standing out. So the question is, do we take Adam Thielen or Jordan Whittapuka, or do we double tap both and just rock with 2? I think we take Whittington and we'll see what happens. How's that sound? Mark Wise, welcome to the chat. Is Cup a new Thielen with a Superman cape? Good question. We'll get to that in a moment. The answer, no. Adam Thielen went from an outside wide receiver who was just not winning off press to going in the slot. Okay, fine. We'll take the fake value of Adam Thielen and like a few pick. Do we want, is this going to fuck our build up? I don't think we need to do this. If we do this though, that 8 seems good and we can stop. Yeah. Adam Thielen showed a really strong ceiling, so I will just say fuck it and take him on a roster loaded with some young guys and some interesting pieces. So here's the thing. Adam Thielen moved from outside wide receiver to slot, and 8 on that volume, and back-to-back years looking pretty strong given his cost. Cooper Kupp operates as like super slot with Sean McVay, the best guy at utilizing his skills. Cooper Kupp has been on a strong decline over a 4-year period with a ton of injuries. Adam Thielen was kind of declining without a bunch of injuries for all but like one of the years, I believe. And I think it was like an ankle sprain or something. But like Cooper Kupp's taken like a lot of beatings and damage, wear and tear in the injury department, while also declining in like man coverage, separation, and just like efficiency metrics. And he was already a slot guy. So Where's he gonna move that makes it easier? Like the only way he like Adam Thielen's is just from like insane volume, and he was seeing some pretty good volume in this offense. So I don't know, man. I am dubious on Cup. His price seems fine, but I mean, my God, he looks washed. Uh, and I know we've incorrectly, determined that before, but guys like Julio Jones that were looking pretty washed and the move teams uh, didn't magically get better, and they didn't make it better for us. Eric Decker, like I haven't really been taking him at cost because it felt like he wasn't going to return to the Rams, which was probably the optimal situation given like offense, quarterback, and all that good stuff. So like now I think he goes to a team that's just like needs a placeholder at wide receiver. Like New England, like Tennessee, just a team that needs guys. If he ends up in Washington, I think it's the one place he could actually thrive at cost in like the top. I'd say I'd assume he would rise like 30 picks, so like pick in the 70 to 80 range. I think he could be a fine pick there, just given that they do throw a lot of quick passers in the red zone. And we saw Terry thrive on low volume in a couple of those games where like, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 10 yards. Cup could do that, and that would hit cost. I think that's the only place I would maybe be interested just because of usage, because Cliff can feed a slot guy and Jane Daniels is awesome. Outside of that, I don't think I'm going to be into it. What's up, legalize it? Yeah, well, so I'm saying I expect him. I expect Whittington to rise to about here, and I think this is fair. 15th round post Cup, I think that's fine. Given this build, guys like this could rise a shitload, and then if they don't, fine. When you look at like I wanted either one of these rookies. When both of those guys go, Yoshi Bosch is interesting. Pop Douglas, the New England Patriots guys, they've got to add a bunch of dudes. I don't know that they do nothing at the wide receiver like they did this last year, where they just kind of like swung and missed at Ridley and then put their hands in the air and said, fuck it, and then just drafted shitty rookies. So I think you take one of those guys. I will never be into Pop Douglas and half PPR. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, the Whittington thing feels he earned 10 targets multiple times in that offense. I'm willing to take it in this build where I did take wide receiver pretty heavy, and then packaged it with Thielen. Yeah. I mean, his speed is slower. Hey man, this is how it is. I mean, that was almost the landing spot for Brian Thomas Jr. last year. Like I said, I think there's a lot of solid spots because there's only like what 3 worthwhile receivers in free agency. T. Higgins is going to be the most expensive considering they're likely going to tag him and trade him. So you're not just paying him, you're also trading draft picks away. So, and then it's Godwin coming off of a season-ending ankle injury at 30. And then like Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, guys like that. And then Cup and free agency. And then so it's like the wide receiver class may not be good, but they will have as good, but they're going to have a shit ton of options. Diggs, thank you. Yeah. Diggs coming off an ACL at 33. So yeah. Texans, Rams, Patriots, Bengals could all be spots that add receivers early. We're gonna bang out Justice Hill for our 5th running back, stacking with Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman. That's a great question. We're gonna take Chris Godwin if he's commander, probably up until where would be my line? Probably, I was thinking like 4th, 5th round. I'd take him over like half of the 4th and 5th round, probably. I want a running back. I haven't taken enough Antonio Gibson, so I'll take some Gibson. That'll be our sixth and final running back. So the Commanders thing is the same thing. They can utilize slot where he's really strong, but he can also go out wide. They can be versatile. It is cliffs. There's a little bit of concern, but like Jane Daniels is awesome. And I think Godwin will have enough time. The ankle stuff could be concerning, but so I do want to note that Jeff Mueller noted that like until we know how much ligament damage, if any, was involved in that ankle injury, that's really the big like question mark. If he didn't have that much ligament damage in his ankle injury, then really wheels up, no worries. If he did have ligament damage, he could be a little bit efficiency hampered early on in the season. That said, volume could still be really strong considering it's Jade Daniels, and you know it would just be what Godwin and Terry, and they throw in the red zone, kind of like the Rams, where it's like just short targets, and Godwin can body stuff out. We've seen him kind of earn volume and overcome some efficiency issues when he was returning from the ACL with Brady on the decline, mostly Brady plus the offensive line on the decline. So if he's given a really strong contract and we get some really positive rehab news, and I think the contract's going to do a good job of telling us that, if it's like a good amount of guaranteed money, not incentive heavy, and a clear, and we're likely to get like a physical, update with that, I'd hope. Probably like mid to late fourth, I'd take him all the way up into there. Definitely over Rice, given his injury. Definitely over Hill, just because like in that role he was fucking crushing. Volume, deep, red zone, all that stuff. JMO-ish, yeah. JMO without Ben Johnson, I'd probably lean again. I'd probably split that, but if I get like healthy, hey, he's healthy, wheels up news, I'll hammer it. I'll hammer it all the way home. Yeah, see, this is where I'd start asking myself a question, because it's like Chris Godwin in the third round, that injury's got to be clean. If I get like injury news and he's on the Commanders, I'm willing to pay the third round price tag. I'm just not going to end up with a ton because the third round is ripe with targets I want. Like Kyron, I'm willing to take Jacobs in the late to mid third, James Cook, DJ Moore with Ben Johnson, Mike Evans. I think the only third round pick I'm probably taking him over is Marvin Harrison, who I still want pieces of. So if he's in the third round, the question becomes, do you take him over Terry McLaurin? Because that one, like, does Terry... okay, thought exercise. Where does Terry end up in ADP if they sign Godwin to like a 4-year contract, 19 million APY, 35 million guaranteed? Where are you taking Terry? Because Terry right now is going to mid third. You think Godwin goes over Terry? Does Terry go over Godwin? Do they go back to back? And then what do you do? Green Bean saying Terry goes in the third and Daniels in the fourth. So if taking Godwin, it's got to be fifth at the earliest. I mean, he's going to rise. Once you get clarity on where he ends up, he's going to rise. And I think going from Baker to Jaden is at worst a wash. I'd still take him in the fourth, but I'm just saying. MDS saying many people were anti-Terry last year at 55. I was not one of those people, but yeah, there were plenty of them. Rookie quarterback. Oh, Jaden can't throw. Running quarterback. Blah, 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 blah. Terry probably drops and Jaden stays the same. Does Terry drop, though? The way he crushed the end of the season when Cliff finally moved his ass to the right wide receiver. Shout out Josh Norris, always pointing out, if you just move his ass to the right side. Do we want to take a third tight end here? It probably feels prudent to do so. Probably push. I think we're going to take a seventh running back in Lloyd. We're going to do it again. And one of Conklin or Jawan, unless someone's got a better shout for tight end. But like Terry had like multiple 50-yard touchdowns. Terry's probably still the deep guy. Godwin is like just red zone eating it up. So, what does the market do? Does the market say Godwin's cup in Jadentown, or do they say, hey, Terry McLaurin's still wide receiver 1 and Godwin's wide receiver 2 coming off the injury at 30? And Terry will be like what one? He's like almost 1 year older. Conklin or Juwan? Juwan or Conklin? I'm gonna. Juwan would potentially stack with Rashid Shaheed if he resigns. I don't think we've got any news on what the New Orleans staff. The New Orleans staff doesn't even have anybody yet. They don't have Taysom. I think I'd rather just take the out that Conklin ends up on a better team. Because he's like, what, going to be 30? Yeah, he's 29. I'll take Conklin over Juwan because there's a chance Conklin ends up like on the Bengals or the Panthers to take over for Sanders, who was fine, but like still, Yeah. Okay. So we finish up with a 2-7-8-3 build: Lamar Jackson, Michael Penix, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, Najee Harris, Tajay Spears, Justice Hill, Antonio Gibson, Marshawn. What could go wrong this time, Lloyd? Brian Thomas, Drake London, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad Bateman, Jordan Whittington, Adam Thielen, and at tight end, Cade Otton, Kyle Schitz, and Tyler Conklin. Yeah, so I think on the Terry thing, I would not be surprised if it's like Terry and Godwin, with Terry slightly falling and Godwin slightly falling. I think I would expect Godwin to spike, Terry to take time to trickle down. But I could see just Jaden going so close in the fourth and like the third, fourth turn to like Godwin be pulled up as a stacking partner and Terry to never fall enough as a stacking partner to Godwin, or people trying to like get one or get both. There's a strong chance they both end up just sticking in the third, which would be aggressive. And then I wouldn't be into it as much. All right. Let's see. Do I have some slows? Bad knows. Terry the 1, Godwin the 2, Daniels to the moon. I think that's right. Ben Gretsch of Stealing Bananas, formerly of Ship Chasing, was pointing out that like his target share numbers, Terry McLaurin that is, never elite. Yards per route run, never elite. We have seen Godwin with very elite targets per route run, target share, and yards per route run. So if the market says Terry 1, Godwin 2, I'd be willing to buy any discount on Godwin if healthy. If we get news that the ankle injury wasn't as bad as it could be, which is a big TBD. And even if it was, maybe by end of season he is crushing. That's just like price dependent. I'd be willing to buy that Godwin with a strong contract could earn more targets or target share in that offense than Terry. That said, Terry and Jaden seem like they had pretty good chemistry, including in the red zone. That is not nothing. It would be interesting. I'd wonder what the market would say. Because Godwin's just in the cup role. So what do they say? I'd be curious. I'd be very curious. MDS said they initially said there was an outside shot of returning 20. Smells okay-ish. I know, but they kind of say that about every single player coming back, that when it's not an ACL, and even when it's an ACL, they're like, the health news is just like always a little overly optimistic. That's what I worry about. All right, we can rip another one if y'all jump in this one and we go stupidly fast because I don't have any slows to walk through. So let's do another big board. Jump in this one. Let's fucking fast draft this to the moon. Yeah, I don't know. They said the same thing about Rice, right? And last time I heard, Rice is nowhere close to coming back to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I'm skeptical. The docs tell me that if ligaments were damaged, be a little skeptical. I get the fucking 12th pick again. Fantastic. But we do see friends of the chat, Sus Edwards and Green Bean, getting my influencer 101 and 102. And I don't think I recognize any other names in this one. Oh, Toast 420. Does that legalize it? All right, rip it, rip it, rip it in, dip it. Draft starts in 30 seconds. I'm going to get no values. I'm going to get no good players. You're going to give me no one I like. And I got to yell at Xfinity for messing with my internet upload speed. The last few weeks, my internet has not been as good as what I'm paying for. And they won't install fiber, which is the worst part. I would pay for fiber. They just won't put it down. I am by myself, but that means it's dangerously chaotic because I don't know who's on the turn. All right, rip it, rip it, rip it, rip it, rip it. Shout out to Green Bean and Sus. They ripped it, and Rack'em Willie is really debating what to do with the third pick, like a fucking noob. Brother, it's third pick. You have running backs, you have receivers. Take one. Oh, bummer. Wait, so L3, G4, L1, Z3, 1, T420 is your underdog username? Holy shit. What's up, Best Ball on Call, friend of the channel? They messed up and gave you Influencer 12 instead of 1 or 2. I know, these dyslexic bastards, and it's woke. It's 2025. We're gonna be nice about it. Rackham Willie took 24 seconds to decide he wanted Bijan at pick 3, who has an ADP of 3. Fantastic. You love to see it. It's the early drafts. What do you it's not your home league. It's funny. We do need faster clocks. They tapped into my ADHD with those 15 and 20-second clocks, and now I need it. I need it bad. It's fantastic. Does it ever make you re-log in? You have to fucking type all that shit out and remember? That'd be really funny. If you're just joining us, folks, please hit the like and hit the subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, join the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. Fantastic member perks, ranks, Tom's write-ups, much similar to Evan Silva's matchup charts. Premium start sit, premium trade offer advice, Rich's rookie guide coming out soon. I think last year he did 175 or 150 rookie profiles. It was in depth, folks. Cavity searched every one of those rookies to find the gems. We're ripping Malik Neighbors off the bat, and I think we want to do we do Genty or Bowers? I want to do Neighbors and Genty. That seems fun. Genty seems fairly priced for the kind of role he's likely to see. If he ends up with the Raiders with Chip Kelly's up-tempo offense, boom. I miss them. Yeah, if we hit, let's see. What are we at? When we hit 3,500 subscribers, I will stream 3 drafts back to back to back, topless. That's my promise to you. Most of you don't want that. 3 of you really want that. Did you do a 5-second golden, no slows allowed? Oh. We'll get there. They're gonna give us so many drafts. We're gonna have our choice. I just miss it. I just miss it now. Especially with the what do you call it? The extra 2 rounds. I wish it was slightly faster. What if I do a hot tub stream at 4K subs? Oh, do you like that? I have a banana hammock that says juicy on the ass. Love that. Username for 20 years on the platforms. Love to see it. Let's check it in on the draft board real quick. I just can't do Christian McCaffrey at 14 at 30 years old, coming off of an aggressively bad Achilles injury where he looked slower and less efficient. Tough. Especially with Grendo and Jordan Mason both filling in very admirably. They really don't have any reason to shove it down CMC's throat, especially if they think, playoff contender. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey feels like the most fragile volume at price. I feel like it's just loaded with risk. What percentage that he returns to peak form at 30 coming off of that Achilles injury, which it's Achilles tendonitis. It's not going anywhere. You can stave it off, but it's not like an ACL. It doesn't go away. And even J.K. Dobbins, and he and Cam Akers both coming off an Achilles tear, were able to do some really monumental, interesting shit. Given their RAS, but they were also wickedly young. CMC is not young. I don't know. I put it at like what, 10% or less likelihood that the Christian McCaffrey comes back to like peak 90-95% form. And so there's a 90% chance he's, I don't know, similar to slightly better than he was last year, which is not worth early second round, late first round. That's tough. Sus Edwards doing the most alpha thing possible and doing Barkley, Jacobs, Breece Hall out of the one hole. Gotta love to see it. Sus, how often are you doing 3 running backs straight in the top 3? I am interested. Green Bean with the Chase, Bucky, Terry McLaurin start, pulling up Terry. Just gotta get your guys. Josh Allen not falling far. I did a triple RP start last week. It felt really good. It felt really good. If you hit your pockets, it does not feel bad at all. So I'm going to do a couple of those here early just because the rolls are so good. And I'm going to try to mix up the guys I take. That was my biggest lesson learned, was try to make sure that I don't get too take locked on who I'm taking, because at the end of the day, you're not sure who's going to have an awesome stretch, who's going to have a down stretch, injuries, yada, yada. Like JT was a good fade a majority of the season, and then he had like the nut 3-week stretch in the playoffs. Like, what are you going to do? You reached for him. Technically, I didn't realize his ADP is 26. It's been going up. What the fuck? I didn't realize that. Holy shit. Yeah, that's going to course correct the second they get a Cup, a Godwin, a T. Like, they wanted Brandon Ayuk, for fuck's sake, dude. They wanted a wide receiver 2 opposite Terry. The people taking Terry early are slightly overpaying at worst. Like, what are you going to say? I don't know if you have to stop at 4. If I stopped at, like, I could take 5 or 6, but I wait till like the last few rounds when ADP doesn't matter, I think that's viable. I'm just not taking 3 tight ends or 3 quarterbacks, most likely. It's going to alter construction, but I don't think you have to hamper yourself. Choice of Cook or Kyron here. I don't love the receivers. I think Cook. I think I'm tempted to take both. What if I do hero wide receiver and then decisions. I think we're going to take Zay. His points per game are pretty solid. Injury, probably the only reasons why his price isn't out of control. Attached to a good offense, promising role. Anything happens to Andrews or Bateman, anything happens to Henry. Seems solid. Don't want to forget the fundamentals. We were close. I felt the gritty inside of me. We'll call it the gritty goblin. For those that aren't aware, hit him with the gritty, infamous underdog user for his eccentric builds. Green Bean saying, help of a real threat at wide receiver 2 just makes the offense run better and opens a bigger game to the wide receiver 1. Agree, But if the wide receiver 2 is very, very good, he can take away volume, like point blank period. Like Terry's no longer just competing with 34-year-old Zach Ertz, who was a practice squad reject from the Lions playoff run the previous year, and Olamin Zacchaeus, who's 31 wide receiver journeyman, and Dimey Brown. Like, we saw those guys all have spikes, but kind of independent of each other. So all of a sudden, a healthy Brandon Ayuk could take away target share and scoring opportunities from Terry, making him still able to spike, but maybe not over the course of an entire season like he just did with multiple 30 to 40 yard scores and multiple red zone targets, where he was able to I think he had at least 2 games this year we had under 50 yards receiving but 2 receiving touchdowns. Those games become less frequent, especially with Cliff Kingsbury. They could be highly concentrated, highly focused, and get a little stale. And Jaden's gonna make magic. So I'm just talking price wise, a legit Terry's price right now says he's the unquestioned one, and he's gonna run back a lot of those touchdowns, a lot of those yards. He absolutely could. Likelihood's not huge there, especially going into 31. But especially less likely he puts up that total season and that total number if they get a legit alpha. I mean, the same thing. I mean, I know AJ Brown getting added wasn't quite the same. That's a goddamn alpha getting added to Devonta Smith. And Devonta Smith has nice spikes, but it's a hard return on a 3rd round value when you have solid options or taking away scoring opportunities. Well, the difference is talent, right? Jamar Chase is unquestionably much, much better. Yards per outrun, targets per outrun. There are games where Jamar Chase gets half the targets, and they're not few and far between. He's going to get paid like an alpha soon. But we have seen T. Higgins hamper him for multiple games as far as ceiling is concerned. Chase can still break out, but because the talent's not as good, that's it. And all things considered, if the volume was super, super high, then it doesn't matter. But the passing volume might not be super high with Jaden, who does scramble at a pretty good rate, and Cliff, who does run the ball at a pretty good rate. So these are all just macro things. ADP is kind of a construct, but pricing, I think, is important, and pricing compared to other players is important. Paul, what's good, homeboy? I don't know, what was I going to call you? I was going to call you homie, and then I doubted myself. Long-time listener, first-time caller, how do you think the Rams receiver room plays out? Well, so I mentioned a couple times, Kupp's gone. I think Whittington's counted on to be the wide receiver 3. They like how he blocks in the run game. They like how he operates as kind of like a screen runner. So I think he can do some of that Kupp dirty work, versatile, run game stuff that McVay was talking about and does like. They tried to go get BTJ or Worthy last year. I think they really wanted BTJ. Ended up going to the Jaguars. No one was biting on trading down with the Rams. So I'd imagine they go after a reasonable free agent if they can. Probably Godwin. And if they can't get Godwin or T, and they're not afraid to make it work. I would expect them to be kind of like a Ted McMillan, Egbuka, one of the top 3 wide receiver talents in the draft, and just feed their everything shit out of them. Holy crap, guys! Is this our first solo nut button? Nut. George Kittle, 10 picks past ADP. Delightful. All right, we've been talking a lot about Godwin, and we'll take him here to be our wide receiver 3. With George Kittle, our elite tight end. So, guys, what are we doing? George Kittle falls 10 picks past ADP. Very nice. So Kittle is in the basically the 6th round again. Gonna do that a lot, just like I did last year. So 0-2-3-1 build through 6 rounds. Genty, James Cook, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, and George Kittle at tight end. No, you're good. You're good. Dude, I'm going to be live for about 2 hours if this draft room could pick it the fuck up. Unfortunately, only the 1, 2, and 12 spot want to pick quickly. I don't mind repeating myself. I don't know. You know what? My wife says I say I already said this too often, and it does come off grating and shitty, and I apologize for that. I don't mind saying things multiple times. I love to hear myself talk, is what my detractors would say. But yeah, I imagine the Rams are going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they have a young, explosive wide receiver 2 opposite Puka. I do not think they want Whittington to be the wide receiver 2, but I think they are very comfortable with him being their wide receiver 3, doing the like Skoronek, Demarcus Robinson stuff, like run blocker, screen outlet, all the stuff they talked about liking him for, but then also being an easy outlet for like those like scammy Puka's not open, throw it to him targets. Which he probably got partly because Cooper Cup was banged up and Higbee was still out, and Colby Parkinson, who was a process win and a result bust on my part, not being good, not mattering in the yak department. So that's how I'm seeing it shake out as of now. The Rams have always been aggressive about having a talented wide receiver team. They've had no problem feeding, like if feeding Puka being the engine with Kyron doing fine in an offensive line that's not coming in down 4 starters by week 2 is going to, go a long way. But they certainly seemed like they were ready to move on from Cup spiritually, and they ended up double tapping defensive line to replace Donald. So it seemed like they wanted to replace 1 star, Donald or Cup, going into 2025, and they replaced Donald with 2 guys production, as much as you can. And now I think they wanted to make sure they had a Cup insurance policy. Whittington, not as good as Cup or Puka were late, but serviceable. So I think that allows them to let Demarcus Robinson and Tutu go and either put all their chips in a cash flow basket of Godwin, T, or a surprise guy, maybe Stephon Diggs on a cheap 31, 32-year-old coming off an ACL, but could be an Adam Thielen-esque slot guy. I think they want youth. So I think they could be big spenders in free agency for one of the top guys, or they just like push their chips in for one of the really good receivers again this year, and they're just more aggressive about it because teams know who they want, and they're just going to have to pay up for what they pay up for. Wouldn't be shocked at that at all, especially if they keep Stafford, which feels like they were going to say goodbye to one of Stafford and Cup, not both. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be interested to see how that checks out. I'm far more interested in how they want to try to build this up. Do they want to try to swap Stafford for Darnold, age-wise, maybe money-wise? Are they going to be in the Geno Smith swap 'em stakes? Like I am interested to see if they don't get like really, really tricky. You like that spiritually? All right, let's check in on the folks. Sus Edwards starting off 3 running backs and then balancing it out, as all things are, with Ted McMillan, Devontae Adams, Jaden Reed, and Brandon Ayuk. The full question mark, what if receivers. Green Bean stacking up Chase with Burrow, getting Addison, Tracy, and Hawkinson. I just can't. I think the one tight end I cannot get on board with in the top 100 picks is TJ Hawkinson. Addison kind of eating his lunch in the red zone without Kirk and coming off that injury. He's just not like soaking up volume the same. And I don't think the volume gets better or the efficiency gets better without Darnold, who seems like he's gone. So it's going to be like Daniel Jones and JJ McCarthy, or Nick Mullins and JJ McCarthy. I think the offense will be serviceable. I'm not into the Hawkinson price at all. I'm also not touching Isaiah Pacheco in the top 100 picks ever. Who are we double tapping here is a good question. I think we're going to take Shaheed and Pearsall, set up a Purdy double stack if it makes it back to us, which would be nice. And if not, we have 2 pieces of the undervalued San Francisco 49ers, which I think is solid process. And I expect them to rise as we kind of get like healthy news, as Purdy's re-signed, as they address their concerns in the free agency and draft period. Uh, I mean, their bounce back could be like Chargers-esque just on health alone. They got ravaged by injuries right out the gate. CMC, Trent Williams, the defense, Brendan Ayuk. Then by like what, week 4 or 5, Debo came into the season seemingly sick and banged up, and then Purdy had a couple injuries. It was just all bad. So just on health alone, they could bounce back in a big way. Also, Josh Norris of Underdog Fantasy asking, which team would Kyle Pitts be good for? And I thought, what coach has made use of a tweener, not quite tight end, not a really good blocker, but an okay to good pass catcher, big body. And I was like, oh, Jimmy Graham, Sean Payton, Denver Broncos. Does Kyle Pitts end up in Denver to get doghoused for being a shittier version of Jimmy Graham? I don't know. Would be funny. Are the Broncos going to draft a tight end, or do they just what, pay Tyler Conklin? I don't know. What are the fucking Broncos going to do? Hard to say. I also don't love George Pickens' price in like the mid 5th. Steelers wanted to also add Ayuk or Sutton last year, so they also wanted a second receiver. George Pickens, diva shit, did not ingratiate him well to Mike Tomlin. I don't love drafting a guy who can get benched in the first half for being a dipshit by his coach in the top 50 rounds. That's a great question, Jason. I'll get to it. So they're definitely going to add a second receiver, and it's either going to be one of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. So pass volume, we should not expect to be a lot. Spikes are fine, but I don't know, man. I would take Pickens over Rice for health alone, but I'm not taking him over Rome, Addison, or Devontae. Waddle, I'm not taking him over Waddle at all. Sutton, last year of his contract, solid offense. The big body red zone guy. I mean, yeah, I think I'm not like Pickens and Judy feel so trappy. I'll probably take Pickens over Ridley in most times if Tennessee's drafting a rookie. And then over Jaden Reed just because like usage, but that's about it. No, it's okay. I figured you were it's usually the Brandon Ayuk drafter that takes him. It is what it is. No worries. Jason asking a great question. McMillan Jennings or Jacoby Myers? Who do I like more? I think easily Juwan Jennings. I am really high on Juwan Jennings. He was given a really solid extension after a really strong playoff stretch. We didn't really factor that in at all. And then he breaks out, even without the injuries. He breaks out playing outside and inside. So not only slot, and earns really high volume like all season long. Has like a 4-game stretch where it just didn't pan out, either just 4 or 5 targets, some bad games, or just some misses. The whole offense kind of struggled though. Last couple games, like multiple 10, 9, and 11 target games. And like I said, I believe the San Francisco 49ers are a strong bounce back candidate for health, for offensive efficiency, and I'm fading Brandon Ayuk coming back from multi-ligament injury. And Debo could be cut. Debo could be brought back, but he's not the engine nor the focal point of the offense. And Ricky Pearsall looked promising, but he had his own health stuff with a unstable shoulder, which is still good. It's going to be an issue for the rest of his career if the fantasy docs pinpointed that correctly. And he's had some soft tissue stuff himself. So Juwan Jennings feels like a clear buy in Dynasty and in redraft. And then as far as McMillan versus Myers, that's tough because as players go, I still think Jacoby Myers is undervalued and super rock solid. But Pete Carroll plus Chip Kelly, hard to know. The pacing could be really nice. It just also feels very scary if the quarterback situation sucks gun to my head, probably Jennings, McMillan, and Myers because I want to be in on the wide receiver, the year 2 wide receiver guys. All right, this is going to be a tough situation. Do I take Warren? I think we'll take Najee here as our vet running back bet, and then I think we push quarterback and just make it work. So I think we're going to take Bateman again here to be our wide receiver 6. Do a little catching up since we took a couple of deviations early with Genty and Cook and Kittle. And then I like the build up of that, especially with Godwin. If he does have any injury stuff coming back, I think that, you know, both he and Shaheed, if they have any physical ramp up needs for the first few games of the season, we're building out quality depth for that. So through 10 rounds, we have Genty, James Cook, Najee Harris, and we had to take Genty once, right? Put him on the thumbnail. How'd you like that thumbnail, by the way? Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Shaheed, and Ricky Pearsall and Bateman also get the team stack of Baltimore wide receivers, and then George Kittle, Awu, 10 picks past ADP. I'll give you a little peek-see of the board. Bo Nix, Marvin Mims, nice little stack there. Yeah, Binnles Jennings is so undervalued, so I agree he was legit good. Yeah, he was legit awesome, and then was legit good. Went kind of the way of the offense, but like, I mean, his ADP should be much, much higher. I will not be surprised when he flips Brandon Ayuk, flips Debo. I don't get the Jerry Jeudy stuff unless they sign Kirk or Darnold, and I don't think you're in on it with Kirk given how he looked, unless, you know, he's like his throwing is looking stronger. Darnold, I can maybe see it, but even then, yeah. Yeah, Juwan over Ridley. I mean, Juwan deserves to be over Pickens and Rice, given like stuff. Like Juwan should probably be like right here with like he should be here with like Devonta through Jordan Addison. I don't see why he's not. Take all the Judy you want, brother. No, Watson is good, but also it's not going to be Winston. So it's probably like what, Cam Ward or Shador, unless they. I mean, they can't sign Darnold. They could get Kirk if he plays on the vet minimum like Russell Wilson while he's paid by the Falcons. But do the Browns want to trade? They're in a tough spot. That Watson contract's bad. They can't really even afford to trade Garrett if they wanted to. And if they do, it's going to hurt. Is that an everyday sword or just a special occasion sword? That's a good question. I'm currently reconfiguring the office for streaming and for work. So that is what is that? My totally blanking. Oh my god. Holy shit. What's the show? Based on the video game, based on the book. Witcher. Holy crap. Sorry guys, I'm tired. That's a Witcher replica foam cosplay sword. I have a couple of real swords in the closet, of course, like every white dude in America does. One that has like a self-locking hilt, like future ninja style. But no, that's a The Witcher replica sword. Sold at my local comic book store. Couldn't resist. It's that and a couple skateboards in the background, an emo cowboy football lineup sign that I have to get a remote for to dim it all the way down so you actually see it on screen, because otherwise the default lowest setting is not clear enough. Unfortunately, wife got that for me for Christmas. Now I have to get a fucking remote so you can actually see the light on stream. I should get I should pull out the real swords for like cutting watermelons or some bullshit in here. That'd be funny. Spent all this time talking and didn't take one drink. What a pro. What a pro. All the fun quarterbacks are getting soaked up. What a bummer. Cam Scatabo is either going to be the Bucky Irving of this class, highly undervalued and a smash, or he's going to be the Blake Corum and highly drafted and a total fucking whip. Where do you fall on the line on that? Scott Barrett of Fantasy Points tweeting out the propaganda that the only FBS running backs to do what is like 2,000 yards and like a shitload of like yards from scrimmage and touches. CMC and Cam Scatabo. His volume seems insane. The metrics are another story, right? Like, are they a Fugazi? Also, LeQuint is a fantastic name. I mean, obvious. Well, actually, I don't think that's true. I think if Blake Corum was drafted to another team, I don't necessarily think that means he was either worth ADP or good. I think he was highly overvalued based on his touchdown numbers. But that's fair. That's fair, Thad. Everybody depends on where they go. But also, if they suck, they suck. All right, I think we're going to do a Dak back stack. And as far as this is concerned, doesn't feel fun. A Penix back stack isn't good, so it's probably got to be. Yeah, I think we're going to do Dak and Bryce, who strong coach speak saying that's their guy. They want to bring back Andy Dalton, which would be a strong signal, I think, for Bryce, but they said they're in on him. So, and honestly, they have no reason not to just like keep adding assets and hope that he turns around. He looked really strong. He looked better than Stroud the last six or so weeks of the season. For fantasy, his rushing upside was really strong. So, double tapping Dak and Bryce there feels pretty good. And then we can backstack with Ferguson and Tolbert, hopefully. And if not, a single stack with Dak and let's see. Could be Ashton Jency to the Cowboys running back quarterback stack, and we'll probably take a shot at a rookie receiver that the Cowboys desperately need. Cowboys need everything though. They need O-line, they need defense, they need wide receiver. They are in a really tough spot of needing a lot of pieces, and they don't have a lot of money to spend, and they don't have a ton of draft picks. So we'll be interested where they spend those assets. Scatabo, Green Bean. Talking about Scatabo, early fade, but gotta have a little bit. I agree. I'm sprinkling him in. I'm sprinkling in all the rookie running backs. I'm just trying to take more of the cheaper ones. Outside of maybe like, did y'all see that rumor yesterday on Twitter that Travion Henderson was like the smoke around the Senior Bowl scout stuff was that Travion could be a sneaky like first round or like top tier running back in the draft. Yeah, just like Jonathan Brooks did last year. Yeah, I mean, they have a need. And as far as offense goes, if they're staring down the barrel of where are they drafting? This is actually a good question. I have not memorized the draft order yet. I do expect a lot of trading though, considering how this class is. Let's see, what's the draft order? Dallas is pick 12. So I would not be surprised if they're staring down the barrel of wide receiver 3 or Ashton Genty, and just saying take Genty, right? Titans pick at 1, Browns pick at 2, Giants pick at 3. Would imagine 2 or 3 quarterbacks, or 3, 2 quarterbacks likely off in the first 3 picks, whether that's trade or not. New England is a huge risk to take receiver or O-line. Jacksonville, huge risk to take receiver or O-line. Raiders, quarterback, wide receiver. The Raiders feel like at 6 they have to just take a vet quarterback and just add a receiver or running back. With Pete Carroll, God knows what they're going to do. I think Genty could either go to the Raiders at 6 or then the Cowboys at 12. That feels really realistic. If no trades, the Jets are not taking the Jets are taking with Aaron Glenn probably defense, if I can take a guess. Panthers probably edge, O-line, wide receiver makes sense. Saints need anything, and this would be a great draft for them to actually fucking trade down for a change, but probably take receiver or edge there. They like their Ohio State boys. Saints could get Egbuka, and then they could have Olave, Shaheed, Egbuka, and nobody, or Derek Carr, I guess. That would kind of suck. Bears, yeah. So I think there could be 2 or 3 receivers off the board, and the Cowboys are like, Genty or wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. And they go, hey, Genty's a weapon for the offense, and we have Lamb, and we have Genty, and we have Dak. Go crazy, Brian Schottenheimer. I can see that. I don't think Genty falls out of the top 15, whether that's trade or not. But yeah, I mean, if he somehow does do that, though, Denver at 20 is like the next likeliest spot, and Pittsburgh at 21. And Genty could fall. I think Genty could end up, if he does fall, he could fall to the Steelers, who just want to replace Najee with Genty. Which is why I'm not really taking a lot of Jalen Warren, because Arthur Smith is still in town. And like this is Arthur Smith took Bijan when he had Algier. Warren looked pretty solid by the time he got healthy, but they still didn't use they still use Najee over him anytime they could. So, color me very skeptical that they just, if they don't take a Genty, an Ollie Gordon, a Travion, they seem very likely to take another workhorse running back, which means they have to sit out free agency on running back. So all the people load up on Warren, thinking they won't draft a workhorse running back. All right, so at the turn we take Otten and Algier. In case Godwin stays with the Bucs, we get a little stack. If not, I'm very comfortable with this 2 tight end, running all the routes, some touchdown upside. I don't feel the need to take 3 tight ends in this build, since I do want a third quarterback. Taking a little bit of a risk, not taking Fields or Darnold there, but didn't really have any clean potential stacks considering team needs, unless, I don't know, Darnold and Godwin follow the way to the Raiders, who, I mean, I just don't see them being big spenders considering, they are kind of cash strapped. So we'll play the Shadur Carr sweepstakes. Jason says, feels like Scatabo is the type of back Jerry Jones would take ahead of Genty. I mean, really? They've taken Felix Jones, DeMarco Murray, and Ezekiel Elliott. Wouldn't Genty be more like those guys than Cam Scatabo, who is more like a receiving menace? Jerry Jones thinks he's a fucking genius. So he's either passing on Genty in the first round to take, Gordon, Henderson, or I don't know who else would be like a. I'm looking at the list of guys. Size is an issue, right? Not all these back, like they're all. A lot of them are over 200 pounds so far. I don't know, but like 215 is kind of like that magic number of like the workhorse that the coaches trust. And there's only like what 5 dudes that measure to that right now, maybe 6. I mean, he passed on Jonathan Brooks instead of taking him, and that was pretty smart. I think so too. That's what happened with Gibbs and with Bijan, right? No, Bijan was Falcons' original pick 8 or whatever, and then the Lions traded. Yeah, the question is who's going to get horny for Genty? Who's got the need and who's got the? I don't think the Cowboys can afford to trade up for him, obviously. Right. Well, I'm saying he didn't take him in the first round like he wanted to. They tried to like play it in the second. Carolina did them such a big that injury run out is just wild shit. Oh, Jonathan Brooks. What happened to you in training camp that we are not going to find out until like 3 years from now on a deep dive podcast? Pablo Torres finds out what happened to Jonathan Brooks in training camp 2024. God. Oh, I know. Well, the verdict's kind of out. When you re-tear the same ACL within the year that you were having multiple setbacks, like you returned to the game like 2.5 months after average at 20 years old. Obviously, the case isn't closed, but like as far as like first contract for a running back, he'll play like his what? God, he only played like what 2 games, 3 games. He'll play his 3rd or 4th game almost halfway through his contract as a running back. That's tough. So it's verdict's a little bit out, a little bit. All right, fantastic. We're having a great time. Potential stacks of Adam Thielen and Ferguson go. Sad to see it. Pierce feels fun. Garendo feels fun. How do we feel about that? Yeah. Pierce for the bombs. Coach speak on him is pretty strong. Coach speak on A.D. Mitchell, not very good. You know, coaches are like, hey, Pierce worked his ass off. He's earned his role. You guys got to earn the ball, blah, 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 blah. So I'd imagine that A.D. Mitchell still is going to have a hard time. It's still going to be a rotation of him and Pierce and Pittman and then Downs doing the 65% of the slot stuff. Who him saying Brooks would have to have a Dobbins-like story to do anything. And the difference with Dobbins is like he tested like a freak. Like, and I even said my big, I was out on J.K. Dobbins coming off an Achilles, but my big like disclaimer was J.K. Dobbins had elite burst in his RAS, and he was young enough and had elite enough burst score that you could buy into overcoming injury. And he did. But like key that it was Greg Roman who was going to like, hey, I trust Dobbins. I love Dobbins. I know him. I'm going to feed him the ball. He'll be fine. And then Harbaugh just trusting Greg Roman and having shitty Gus Edwards. So Brooks never tested. We have no idea how athletic Brooks is because he had an ACL torn going into the combine. I'm so stopped up, guys. Sorry, my allergies are brutal. So yes, a J.K. Dobbins-like story. The story of J.K. Dobbins is wildly athletic, some unfortunate injury luck. But like what we saw was highly explosive and highly tantalizing and enough talent for coaches to get in there and trust him. Plus some pretty good draft capital. Brooks never saw the field until like into the season and then looked normal, right? Nothing explosive, nothing amazing at 20 coming off an ACL. I don't know what else happened because like that should have been fine. It's not something that like affects your speed, but he wasn't able to, if he was rehabbing all that time, he wasn't really able to train fully for like a year and a half. So yeah, I mean, if Brooks comes back, it's because Brooks would be more like a Deonta Foreman, where like just injury really early derails him, but he has enough time to, he's young enough and has enough time to rehab and come back. He totally could do that. Just ACL on the same knee, that's going to be tough as far as like asymmetry to the muscles, from what I understand. I am stupid. I am not a doctor. And then a coach buying in on a guy like that going into year 3. With only like okay college tape, and even Foreman, like when he got injured, he was still ripping off like 40-yard like plays. That Achilles as well. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. Brooks, the size was a thing, and the college tape was a thing. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's unfortunate. I don't think he will not play many games in his first 2 years. That's tough to overcome, especially mentally for him. I feel bad for him. Jerry Jones' process is crazy. I think his process is drugs, blonde women, and his yacht, and what the fans might like, his shareholders. Yeah, his process. Does he have a process? Stephen Jones, does he have a process? Young guy. That's about it. I don't know. I mean, he who cast the first stone. Am I right? We would all do disgusting things for Jerry Jones' process. Can we just process? Do it in quotes. Oh man, that's funny. Jack Beck, nice. It's a name I've seen a lot. Whittington going to Green Bean at 191 is nice. You get Yoshi, Whittington, and DJ Giddens. That's fun. McCarthy with Addison. So that's curious, Green Bean. You're taking 3 quarterbacks with Joe Burrow and Bo Nix. So like 2 guys in the top 8 rounds, and you're adding McCarthy in the 13th. I understand the stack, but like it's an interesting decision. I think if I'm giving like a top 40 pick to quarterback, I'm probably rolling with 2. I don't know. You see Jones referencing Glory Hole. Oh, brother, I have been quoting every Glory Hole mention. Are you kidding me? Glory Hole is a tradition of this channel. Lest we forget that Tom, the lovely Strack, made the running back Glory Hole video. Are we just going to take Justice Hill again? We're definitely taking Tolbert to stack with Dak. I'll wait for one of these schmucks. Do we diversify with running back, or do we take Justice Hill, who at worst is a free agent? You know, Justice Hill looked solid. He did his job. He's probably coming back to Baltimore, and even if he doesn't, you know, I think he's a solid role player with some juice, but I think he's a favorite to come back on a nice deal. Oh yeah, you got to go back. He said glory holes a lot. A lot. Hold on. You know what? Let me just pull it up. Let me pull it up on stream. Who am I not to give you your glory hole content? I am Twitter searching Jones glory. See if I can't get it without searching Jones glory hole. Oh my god, I found it without having to oh, there we go. Look at this. Can y'all see this? Here, hold on.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.
What do you think? What do you think he's talking about? What do you think he's talking about? He is old. He does have his money from drilling oil, and glory hole is a drilling term. So that's obviously what it is, but if 50 years removed from the lexicon. It's just fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. I know. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Tom Strachan. He go back to last year's running back glory hole video. It's tongue in cheek. That's not all that's in a cheek, but it is a mining term. All right, I asked Green Bean a question. He said, "Are you invested in Hawk and Adam?" I fair he took Hawk. That's fair. Yeah, you got a double stack. That makes sense. I mean, I was searching Jones Glory Hole and then deleted hole, and I'm like, let's if we're gonna share this tab, let's only search Jones Glory and hope yeah. Well, and famously, what Jerry Jones, he made all of his money by like taking out a bunch of loans, uh, purchasing a bunch of wells, and getting lucky that a few, when he retapped them, hit the glory hole, and were able to what's the term for it? Reuse the well, I guess. I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But yeah, he bought a bunch of like rights to wells and lands to drill on. Did he? Are we going to do some Jerry Jones research now? I guess we are. Let's see. I did not know he was born in LA before he moved to Little Rock, Arkansas as a child. Did not know that. Let's see. Oh. Wait a minute. His dad was president and chairman of Modern Security Life Insurance Company, who saw its assets increase from $440,000 in its first statement in 1961 to $6.2 million in 1965. He's a fucking Nepo baby. The success of the company. Wait a minute. Hold on. Checking his. Yeah, and he was named executive vice president of this multi-million-dollar insurance company, whose value and assets was $62 million last year, and they assembled a 5,500 acre Buena Vista. Jesus Christ, I cannot talk tonight. Buena Vista Ranch, Kill Me, in Missouri. In 1971, after selling the insurance company, carved out 400 acres of their ranch to start an animal paradise where tourists could visit exotic animals. Where's the oil money? Business venture. There we go. Borrowed $1 million from Jimmy Hoffa's Teamsters to open up a string of Shakey's Pizza Parlor restaurants in Missouri. When that failed, he was given a job at his insurance company. Oh, so nice. He tried, failed, gets a job as a executive vice president at the insurance company. Received a master's degree and a couple other unsuccessful attempts using Teamsters money to purchase the AFL San Diego Chargers. And then he began an oil and gas exploration business in Arkansas, which was successful and has natural resource prospecting. Son of a bitch. I did my best to advertise it 3 hours early and an hour before going live. The Twitter algorithm does not like me. It is shadow banning me. We are sorry to hear it, but good to see you, Vaporware. I think Russell Wilson makes sense in this build. Because it's either the Raiders or it's the fucking Steelers, and then I don't know, fucking tight end. Feels like a wasteland. How do we start this draft? What do we think? A 7th running back or another receiver? Probably another receiver, probably a rookie. Do we have an undervalued? Yeah, no, I think we got to take a rookie and hope that they get drafted by the Cowboys. Show me your rookie Nick Nash. There we go. That's what I wanted. Hell yeah, brother. All right, hold on. Let's see. I keep reading the Wikipedia and I can't find it. Let's see. If you watch Landman, Billy Bob Thornton's kid on the show is doing what Jerry Jones did, consolidating oil leases. Yeah, it seems like his only successful business venture out of like 4 or 5, after also getting daddy's executive vice president job at the insurance company, was oil leasing and resource prospecting. All right. Back-to-back drafts of late draft picks, but we end this one with a 3-6-9-2 build. Nice. Dak Prescott, Bryce Young, Russell Wilson at quarterback. Nothing to write home about, but could be undervalued. Really sharp ADP beaters this early on. Pause. At running back, we have the electric Ashton Genty on the thumbnail. James Cook, Najee Harris, Tyler Algier, Isaac Garindo, and Justice Hill. Like that running back room a lot. At wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Rashid Shaheed, Ricky Pearsall, Rashad Bateman, Alec Pierce, Jalen Tolbert, Nick Nash, who looked promising in the Senior Bowl. That's all I got. We needed a potential stack with Dak, and I'd like not to have naked Dak. And I doubt Chris Godwin goes to the Cowboys. And then at tight end, we have George Kittle at a nice little 10-pick ADP value, and Cade Otton, who runs all the routes, might be teammates with Chris Godwin, might not. That's okay. But try to stack some solid mini stacks with our teams, with the Baltimore guys, with our San Francisco guys. Tried to push quarterback, didn't get it. What are you going to do? Still got guys who are dual threats, rushing upside, and potential starters. At least 2 of the 3 should be all season. And the chat is talking about a documentary or a movie. Billy Bob Thornton movie. So who him saying he also got Kittle at 60. I've noticed in some of the slow drafts and the fast drafts, Kittle and you're going to have drafts where the onesies fall. Quarterbacks, tight ends. Happens all the time. Laporta's fallen 10 picks. Kittle's fallen 10 picks. Jonnu's fallen 10 picks. Njoku falls 2 rounds a lot. Who else have I noticed falling? So like the onesies will fall a lot, especially in rooms that are prioritizing their builds. And then some rooms were just like running back. I've noticed J.K. Dobbins is falling a lot lately as well. So it's interesting. I think those are guys, you're going to get random followers depending on who's tweeted what rumors are swirling around, And then just expensive guys will fall every once in a while just because like rankings adjust and they're all using rankings. So I wonder who's ranked him lower. Thus Edwards, good night, brother. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the draft. You had a really solid, look at, 2-4-10-3 build. That's very interesting. Brock Purdy, Drake May, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Tank Bigsby. So breaks his running back fast after going heavy in the gauntlet for Tank. Wide receiver loads up with Tech McMillan, Adams, Jaden Reed, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Isaiah Bond, Adam Thielen, Darius Slayton, Jack Beck, and Jalen Naylor. And at tight end, likely Hunter and Theo. That's pretty nice. I like the Beck, the Thielen, and Slayton. I want to load up on Slayton. I think he could be really undervalued veteran receiver. They could end up on a team like the Patriots or hell, even the Bengals trying to replace T. Higgins or something like on a very reasonable deal. I think he's going to get a solid, underappreciated contract. I'll be interested to see where he goes. I super hope. Of course, ask away, my brother. Blue, welcome to the chat. Hit the like, hit the sub. I'll answer your question. Green Bean, let me check out you real quick. You took Caden. Do you know anything about Caden, or it was in my queue and he's a rookie? 3-7-8-2 build. Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Bucky, Tyrone, Scataboo, Scat on my boo, Ray Davis, DJ Giddens, Damian Martinez, Khalil Mullings, all the rookie running backs. Chase, McLaurin, Addison, Marvin, Restrepo, Yoshivas, Jordan Whittapuka, Prather, Hawkinson, Tucker Kraft. Like the divisional stacks, like the rookies and the year 2 guys, Like the stacks, very nice. Let's see. Yeah, I do feel better about taking Wilson than Rodgers right now. But if Rodgers ends up on a team, who do you think is more bench risk, or do they have the same bench risk? Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers in week 17, 2025? Is it equal? Is it more Rodgers? Does Rodgers have more likelihood to not be benched but retire by then? All right, Blue, you asked your question. Be sure to hit a like and hit the sub if you're not already. Josh Allen, James Cook, or Jordan Love, 101, 2026 first, 2027 second. Assuming this is super flex, Blue. And then in which case, Love, 101, 2026 first, 2027 second. I'd say Cook alone is probably worth the 2026 first and 2027 second, and then some. And so then you're saying it's Love and the 101 for Allen. I think pretty comfortably Josh Allen and James Cook. I'm very comfortable with both those guys, especially now that James Cook has been trusted with that red zone role and finally breaking out. If he doesn't stay with the Bills, I think he'll have a healthy market. Jordan Love looking very like they built the plane out of Josh Jacobs this year on purpose. Excuse me. He will be without Christian Watson this year. They seem like a team that really wants to run the ball effectively and control with pacing. He's a spike fun guy, but like the 101 this year is kind of weak. It's probably Genty, which doesn't feel good in Dynasty to take a running back. Your Bijan and Najee's rarely, pan out as easy 101s when the QB class is kind of weak. And then like last year, it was strong for the options, but like, did you get the right quarterback? Did you get Jaden or did you take Caleb and you regret it? So yeah, I think pretty comfortably. Milo, come here, bud. Come here. I mean, that's totally fair. I think if Rodgers doesn't retire, it's him and Devontae together. Scat cam. Ooh. Fair enough. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. PPR Tyler, friend of the channel, doing some great rookie film takes. Really enjoying that. You're saying Wilson has more bench risk than Rodgers? Really? Yeah, you're probably right. Because if you do Rodgers, you probably think, yeah. You're welcome, Blue. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here on the Fantasy Sanctuary. Thanks again. If you have any more questions, Tom, Rich, and I all answer your questions on the YouTube comments, so leave them below. Tell us if you got rookies you're really into. Give us your fades, give us your sleepers, anything you want to talk about, leave it in the comments. Really appreciate y'all hanging out here for a couple hours tonight as we rip the big board, chasing $250K to first, $2 million in prizes over on Underdog Fantasy. If you're not already playing on Underdog, it's an awesome platform. Really the platform of the people. Use code Sanctuary when you join up for up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Fellas, it's awesome time. You know what? I promised a pick'em. Hold on. I promised the good people a Super Bowl pick'em. I will. I'll give the pup a treat. Of course, Hames. By all, if you're bouncing, by all means. If you haven't already, check out your big game, no sweat. $10 max token. I did promise pick'ems in the tweet. I realized that late as we're doing our outro. Real quick, I think, let's see. What's looking good? Hurts, rushing touchdown. They're going to tush push. 4 shoresies. Mahomes. I like Mahomes over rushing yards. You risk the kneel, but I mean, with the way they can get pressure, not taking sacks, playoff rushing, I like that a lot. They have juiced it up a bit. You can slider it. I wouldn't mind sliding it down to 24.5 just because of the kneel downs. Could take away some of that if they win and kneel it out. With Saquon Barkley, I like the taking over on rushing attempts given KC defense isn't like shutting down the run game at all. AJ Brown, longest reception for sure. KC cornerbacks can be had. He's a big yak guy and big time play threat. I want to take a Pacheco lower that 6-7's tough. The receptions, ugh. The attempts, everything feels right. Yeah, I'm going to take just the easy lower because they're just not giving him the red zone work. Is there anything else that's going to give us a better pullout? I know. With the pass volume. I don't know about that. Let's check it out. Oh, you know what? Let's just do that. Swap out Pacheco for Kareem Hunt. They're giving him the red zone work. There's no need to change that, and I like a 1.12x. Do they have anything better than that? Worthy. The rushing yards are tempting. The attempts are tempting. You never know how they're going to call that stuff. Pirine. Longest reception. I think I might take the lower on Dallas Goedert's longest reception. 19.5 feels like a lot. So if you don't want to take the... There it is. Hold on. All right, folks. That is our slip. We're going to lock it in as we get Barks. All right. I hear you, bud. Hold on. Thank you, Milo. All right. The 10-month-old pup has spoken. So we're going to do a Hurts over rushing and receiving touchdown. Patrick Mahomes. We're going to do a slide down to account for the kneel downs. If you're a real man, you don't slide it down. You take the full 1x. Barkley over the rushing attempts. A.J. Brown for the longest reception. We're going to take the spicy little Kareem Hunt over. That is the Witcher sword from The Witcher. I believe it's the Netflix show version. We're going to lock that in. Good luck with your no sweat pick 'em bet on Underdog Fantasy. Like I said, if you haven't already joined, use code Sanctuary when you sign up for up to $1,000 bonus cash. Enjoy the Super Bowl, folks. We will be back. Tom and I will be back Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern for another big board draft. We're going to have a blast. We're going to talk through some of our slow picks. Thank you so much for joining us. Hit the like, hit the sub, leave a comment, and have a great night, folks.